Hey everyone, before we dive into this wild story, please hit that subscribe button to join our channel for more thrilling tales like this one. It was the week of the annual company gala, and I was neck-deep in finalizing my project. This wasn't just any project, it was my magnum opus, the one I'd poured my heart into for months. The files were stored on my work computer, meticulously organized. I'd been working late every night, tweaking every detail to perfection. My assistant, Claire, was supposed to help with minor tasks. I trusted her to handle basic file management, nothing critical. The gala was in 3 days, and the stakes were sky high. My presentation was set to impress the board and secure my promotion. I could already taste the victory, the applause, the recognition. But then, disaster struck in a way I never saw coming. Claire, in a moment of inexplicable chaos, deleted my project files. I stared at my screen, heart pounding, as the folders vanished. The entire project, gone in a single, careless click. I felt my world crumbling. My first reaction was pure panic, a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead. I frantically searched the recycle bin, empty. I checked the backups, but I hadn't set up an automatic one. My fault, I know, but I never expected this. I called Claire, my voice shaking with barely contained rage. She stammered, admitting she'd cleaned up my drive to organize it. Organize? She'd obliterated my life's work. I asked her to explain, but she had no good excuse. The gala was 72 hours away, and I had nothing to show. I felt betrayed, not just by Claire but by my own oversight. How could I have been so careless? I sat at my desk, staring at the blank screen, my mind racing. I considered rebuilding from scratch, but there wasn't time. My career was hanging by a thread, and I was helpless. The next morning, I dragged myself to the office, dreading the inevitable fallout. My colleagues noticed my pale face and asked what was wrong. I couldn't bring myself to admit the truth. It was too humiliating. I kept replaying Claire's mistake in my head, her casual apology. I wanted to scream, but I had to stay professional. I met with my supervisor, hoping for a miracle or at least some sympathy. Instead, he was furious, demanding to know how I'd let this happen. I took full responsibility, though it burned me to do so. Claire was nowhere to be found. She'd called in sick. Convenient, I thought bitterly. I spent the day trying to recover fragments of my work. I scoured old emails, hoping for drafts or attachments. Nothing. By noon, I was ready to give up. The gala loomed like a guillotine over my career. That afternoon, I sat in the break room, staring at my cold coffee, defeated. My phone buzzed, a message from the chairman's office. My stomach dropped. This couldn't be good. The chairman, Mr. Hargrove, rarely reached out directly. I trudged to his office, expecting a lecture or worse. His secretary ushered me in, and there he was, calm as ever. He gestured for me to sit, his expression unreadable. I braced myself for the worst, ready to hear I was done. Instead, he asked about my project with genuine interest. I confessed the truth, my voice barely above a whisper. Claire's mistake, my failure to back up, everything spilled out. I expected disappointment, but he just nodded thoughtfully. Then he said something that floored me. "I have your files," he said simply. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My files? How? Why? Mr. Hargrove explained with a slight smile. He'd been following my progress for months, impressed by my dedication. As a precaution, he'd personally backed up my work on a secure drive. He hadn't told me because he trusted I had it under control. But when he heard whispers of trouble, he checked on things. Claire's cleanup hadn't gone unnoticed by IT, who alerted him. He pulled up the secure drive on his computer, and there they were. My files, every single one, safe and sound. I felt tears prick my eyes, relief flooding through me. The chairman's foresight had saved me from ruin. I stammered my thanks, barely able to process it. My career wasn't over. It was saved. Mr. Hargrove leaned back in his chair, his eyes kind but sharp. He didn't sugarcoat what had happened with Claire. Mistakes happen, he said, but carelessness is a choice. He'd already spoken to her, and she'd face consequences. I didn't ask for details. It wasn't my place. Instead, I focused on the miracle in front of me. My project was back, and the gala was still in play. He handed me a USB drive with my files, advising me to triple-check everything. I nodded, clutching it like a lifeline. As I left his office, I felt a mix of gratitude and resolve. I wasn't just going to survive the gala, I was going to crush it. But first, I had work to do. I headed back to my desk, my energy renewed. The clock was ticking, but now I had a fighting chance. Back at my desk, I plugged in the USB and opened my project files, holding my breath. Everything was there, every slide, every chart, every note. It was like nothing had happened, yet everything had changed. I spent the rest of the day reviewing, making small tweaks. The panic from yesterday felt like a distant memory now. I couldn't stop thinking about Mr. Hargrove's intervention. Why had he taken such a personal interest? I'd always seen him as distant, almost untouchable. Yet here he was, quietly saving my skin. I made a mental note to thank him properly after the gala. For now, I had to focus on delivering the best presentation of my life. The board was expecting excellence, and I wouldn't let them down. Claire's mistake was a wake-up call. I'd never skip backups again. The day before the gala, I rehearsed my presentation until my voice was hoarse. My confidence was back, but I was still nervous. What if something else went wrong? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the slides. My project was a bold proposal to streamline company operations. It was data-driven, innovative, and, thanks to Mr. Hargrove, still intact. I practiced in front of a mirror, timing every transition. My colleagues noticed my intensity and gave me space. Even my supervisor softened, offering a rare word of encouragement. I didn't see Claire, and I didn't ask about her. My focus was singular: nail the gala presentation. By evening, I felt ready, though my nerves were electric. I went home, got a good night's sleep, and prepared for the big day. The morning of the gala, I arrived at the venue early, dressed to impress. The ballroom was buzzing with executives, board members, and stakeholders. I clutched my laptop, double-checking my files for the 100th time. Everything was perfect, thanks to Mr. Hargrove. I mingled, forcing a smile despite my nerves. People were talking about my project, curious after months of hype. I kept my cool, deflecting questions with vague enthusiasm. The pressure was immense, but I felt a strange calm. I owed this moment to the chairman's backup, and I wouldn't waste it. As the event began, I took my seat, heart pounding. My presentation was up next, and I was ready to shine. This was my chance to prove myself, and I wasn't backing down. When my name was called, I walked to the stage, my steps steady but my heart racing. The room was packed, every eye on me. I plugged in my laptop, and the screen lit up with my project. I took a deep breath and launched into my presentation. The slides flowed perfectly, each point landing with precision. The audience was engaged, nodding, taking notes. I could feel their attention, their approval. Halfway through, I glanced at Mr. Hargrove in the front row. He gave me a subtle nod, and I felt a surge of confidence. I wrapped up with a bold call to action, earning applause. As I left the stage, colleagues congratulated me, and the board looked impressed. I'd done it. My project was a hit, and my career was safe. After my presentation, I felt like I was floating, the adrenaline still pumping. Colleagues swarmed me, asking questions about my project's details. I answered with confidence, relishing the moment I'd worked so hard for. The gala continued with speeches and awards, but I was still reeling. My supervisor pulled me aside, his earlier anger replaced with praise. He admitted he'd underestimated me and promised to push for my promotion. I thanked him, but my thoughts were on Mr. Hargrove. I wanted to find him, to express my gratitude properly. I spotted him across the room, deep in conversation with the board. He caught my eye and gave me a small smile. I knew I'd get my chance to thank him later. For now, I basked in the success of the night. As the gala wound down, I finally got a moment with Mr. Hargrove near the bar. I approached, my heart full of gratitude, and thanked him profusely. He waved it off, saying he believed in my potential from the start. His words hit me hard. This wasn't just about saving my files. He'd seen something in me, something worth protecting. I promised to never let a mistake like this happen again. He chuckled, saying mistakes are how we learn, but backups are how we survive. I laughed, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. He encouraged me to keep pushing, to aim higher. I left that conversation with a renewed sense of purpose. My career wasn't just back on track. It was soaring. The gala had been a triumph, and I owed it to him. The next day, back at the office, the buzz from the gala was still alive. Colleagues were talking about my presentation, calling it a game changer. I felt proud but humbled, knowing how close I'd come to disaster. I checked my project files again, now safely backed up in 3 places. Claire was back at work, but we didn't speak. I heard she'd been reassigned to a less critical role. I didn't feel sorry for her. Her mistake had nearly ruined me. But I also didn't hold a grudge. I was too focused on moving forward. My supervisor called me into a meeting with the board. They wanted to discuss implementing my project company-wide. It was the opportunity I'd dreamed of, and I was ready to seize it. The board meeting was intense but exhilarating, with executives dissecting my proposal. They loved the data and the innovation but had questions about execution. I answered confidently, drawing on months of research. Mr. Hargrove was there, watching quietly, his presence reassuring. By the end, the board approved a pilot program for my project. I was tasked with leading it, a huge step toward the promotion I'd been chasing. I left the meeting energized, ready to tackle the challenge. Back at my desk, I started planning, already envisioning the next steps. Claire's mistake felt like a distant memory now. The gala had been my proving ground, and I'd come out stronger. I was determined to make this pilot a success. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into the pilot program with everything I had. My team was small but dedicated, and we worked late to meet deadlines. The project was gaining traction, with early results exceeding expectations. I kept Mr. Hargrove updated, and he offered guidance without micromanaging. His trust in me was empowering, pushing me to work harder. I also made sure every file was backed up religiously. No one was going to catch me off guard again. Colleagues started coming to me for advice, seeing me as a leader. The shift was subtle but undeniable. My reputation was growing. I thought back to that moment of panic when Claire deleted my files. It felt like another lifetime now. One afternoon, Mr. Hargrove called me into his office for a follow-up. He wanted to hear about the pilot's progress, but there was more. He told me the board was impressed, not just with my project but with my resilience. He hinted at bigger opportunities coming my way. I was floored. His faith in me was unwavering. We talked about the gala, and I admitted how close I'd come to giving up. He smiled, saying the best leaders are forged in adversity. His words stuck with me, a reminder to stay vigilant but confident. I left his office with a renewed sense of purpose. The pilot was just the beginning. I was aiming for the top. Claire's mistake had been a catalyst, not a curse. As the pilot program gained momentum, I started mentoring younger colleagues. I shared my story, not to shame Claire but to emphasize preparation. Backups, double checks, attention to detail. I drilled it into them. They listened, eager to avoid my near disaster. My project was now the talk of the company, a model for innovation. I was invited to present at a regional conference, a huge honor. I prepared meticulously, determined to replicate the gala's success. Mr. Hargrove attended, watching from the audience as I spoke. His nod of approval meant more than the applause. I was no longer just a survivor of a crisis. I was a leader. The deleted files were a distant memory, replaced by opportunity. Months later, I got the call I'd been waiting for. The promotion was mine. The board cited my project and leadership as deciding factors. I accepted with gratitude, knowing how much I owed Mr. Hargrove. I sought him out to thank him again, this time as a peer. He congratulated me, saying he'd known I was destined for this. We laughed about the gala, now a story we'd both tell for years. Claire had left the company, her mistake a footnote in my journey. I didn't dwell on her. I was too busy building my future. The pilot program was now a full-scale initiative, and I was leading it. My career was no longer hanging by a thread. It was thriving. Looking back, that moment of panic when my files were deleted was a turning point. It taught me resilience, the value of trust, and the power of preparation. Mr. Hargrove's backup wasn't just about files, it was about belief in me. I carried that lesson into every project, every meeting. My team grew, and so did my ambitions. The company was changing, and I was at the forefront. Colleagues asked how I'd bounced back from near disaster. I told them about hard work, a little luck, and a chairman who had my back. The gala was now a legend in the office, my comeback story. I was proud, but I never forgot how close I'd come to losing it all. Now, as I sit in my new office, I reflect on that chaotic week with gratitude. The deleted files, the panic, the gala, it all shaped me. I'm a better leader because of it, more cautious but also bolder. Mr. Hargrove remains a mentor, always ready with advice. My project is transforming the company, saving costs and boosting efficiency. I've earned respect, not just for my work but for my story. I still triple-check my backups, a habit I'll never break. The gala was my crucible, and I emerged stronger. I'm not just surviving now. I'm thriving, leading, and inspiring. And it all started with a mistake that could have ended me. But thanks to one man's foresight, it didn't. Time passed, and the company continued to evolve under my project's influence. I was now a key player in strategic decisions, a role I never imagined. The board trusted me with bigger projects, and I delivered consistently. My story about the gala became a motivational talk for new hires. I used it to teach resilience and the importance of backups. Mr. Hargrove often joined these sessions, adding his perspective. His quiet support had become a cornerstone of my success. I never saw Claire again, but I wished her well. Her mistake was a harsh lesson, but it didn't define me. I defined myself through hard work and determination. The gala was now a distant memory, but its impact lingered. I was a leader, and I was here to stay. One day, I was asked to lead a company-wide training on crisis management. I jumped at the chance, drawing on my experience. I shared the story of the deleted files, keeping it professional but honest. The audience was rapt, hanging on every word. I emphasized preparation, trust, and the value of a mentor like Mr. Hargrove. Afterward, employees came up to share their own stories of near misses. It felt good to connect, to show them they weren't alone. I realized my story wasn't just about me, it was universal. Mistakes happen, but recovery is what matters. Mr. Hargrove watched from the back, his smile proud. I'd come full circle, from panic to leadership. The gala had been my test, and I'd passed. As my influence grew, I started mentoring others the way Mr. Hargrove had mentored me. I took young employees under my wing, teaching them to avoid my mistakes. I stressed backups, not just for files but for relationships. Trust, preparation, resilience, these were my mantras. My team was thriving, and so was the company. My project had saved millions, earning me a reputation as a problem solver. I was invited to speak at industry events, sharing my story globally. Each time, I credited Mr. Hargrove's foresight. He never sought the spotlight, but I made sure he got it. The deleted files were now a badge of honor, proof of my grit. I was no longer the panicked employee. I was a leader. One evening, Mr. Hargrove invited me to dinner to celebrate the project's success. We talked about the past, laughing about the gala's chaos. He shared his own stories of near disasters from early in his career. It humanized him, showing me even he'd faced challenges. He told me he'd backed up my files because he saw my potential. That moment meant more than the promotion. I realized leadership isn't just about success, it's about lifting others up. I vowed to do the same for my team. The dinner ended with a toast to resilience and second chances. I left feeling inspired, ready to take on more. The deleted files were a distant echo, drowned out by my growth. The company's annual gala came around again, a year after my ordeal. I was no longer just a presenter, I was a keynote speaker. I stood on stage, sharing my journey with confidence. The audience included new faces, all eager to learn from me. I told the story of the deleted files, now polished into a powerful narrative. I gave credit to Mr. Hargrove, who was in the front row, smiling. The applause was deafening, a testament to my journey. I felt like I'd come full circle, from despair to triumph. My project was now a company standard, its impact undeniable. I ended my speech with a call to action: always back up your work. The crowd laughed, but they got it. I'd earned their respect. After the gala, I reflected on how far I'd come in just a year. The panic of losing my files felt like a lifetime ago. I was now a leader, trusted by the board and admired by my peers. My project had transformed the company, and I was shaping its future. Mr. Hargrove's backup had been more than a technical save, it was a vote of confidence. I carried that confidence into every decision, every meeting. I still checked my backups obsessively, a habit born from crisis. But it was a small price to pay for the lessons learned. I was grateful for Claire's mistake. It had forced me to grow. I was grateful for Mr. Hargrove. He'd given me a second chance. I was ready for whatever came next. My new role came with challenges, but I faced them with confidence. Leading a team meant navigating egos, deadlines, and expectations. I leaned on Mr. Hargrove's advice, staying calm under pressure. My project's success had raised the bar, and I had to keep delivering. I implemented new systems to prevent file loss company-wide. It was my way of ensuring no one else faced my nightmare. Colleagues thanked me, saying it saved them stress. I smiled, knowing I'd turned a personal crisis into a company strength. My reputation as a problem solver grew stronger. The gala story was now legend, told with a mix of humor and awe. I was proud of my journey, scars and all. One day, a new employee asked me how I'd handled the file deletion crisis. I told the story honestly, emphasizing preparation and trust. I shared how Mr. Hargrove's backup had saved me, but my hard work had sealed the deal. The employee listened, inspired, and promised to back up their work. I felt like I was passing the torch, just as Mr. Hargrove had done for me. My office was now a hub of activity, with my team pushing boundaries. We were innovating, taking risks, and succeeding. The deleted files were a distant memory, but their lesson was ever present. I was a leader, not because I avoided mistakes, but because I overcame them. My story resonated, and I was proud to share it. As I looked toward the future, I knew challenges would come, but I was ready. My career was built on resilience, trust, and hard work. Mr. Hargrove was still a mentor, though he was preparing to retire. He'd hinted I might take on a bigger role soon. I was excited but grounded, knowing success required vigilance. My team was thriving, my project a benchmark for excellence. I still thought about Claire's mistake, but it no longer stung. It had been the spark that ignited my growth. I was grateful for the gala, for Mr. Hargrove, for the chance to rise. My story wasn't just about survival, it was about triumph. I was ready for the next chapter, whatever it held. Now, standing at the helm of my team, I feel a sense of purpose I never imagined. The deleted files were a test, and I passed with flying colors. Mr. Hargrove's backup was the lifeline, but my determination carried me through. I lead with empathy, knowing mistakes can happen to anyone. I teach my team to prepare, to trust, to persevere. The company is stronger because of my journey, and so am I. The gala will always be my defining moment, a story of redemption. I'm not just a survivor, I'm a leader, shaping the future. And I'll never forget the man who had my back when it mattered most. My career is soaring, and I'm just getting started. Back up your files, and never give up. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey. If you loved this story, please subscribe to our channel for more tales of triumph and resilience. Hit that button now and stay tuned.